This is a optional lesson for adding hardware into TIA Portal. If you're new to TIA Portal and don't know how to set up hardware or basic configurations, then this video will just go through the basics, which will enable you to then follow the configuration of the hardware in a bit of a better way. So here in the project tree, we have our S7-1500. And right now, all that we have in there is device configuration because we haven't added a CPU yet. Now, this isn't the conventional way of doing this because usually you would add a new device and pick your CPU. But what we've done is remove the CPU. So if I come and have a look at the device configuration, we'll see that we have an empty rail. And in here, we need to add a few items to enable our PLC to be able to receive input signals, send output signals, and an actual CPU to process our logic. So it's quite easy to add things to this. You need to, if I just make this a little bit bigger, you just need to pick from this catalog here. So in this case, CPU, we will pick a 1515, and you get lots of different options depending on what catalog version you need. This is easier when you use the add new device because you can see a bit more about them. Down here you have information which shows you the same thing that the wizard would show you, and it also allows you to pick your version. But when you're ready to move whichever CPU it is that you've selected, you simply just drag it either to the rail or to the module slot in the list here. So this is slot 1 here, this is slot 1 here, and drop it in and let go. And what TIA Portal will do now is create the CPU and create all of the housing objects in the project tree for things like your function blocks, functions, and things like that. So you also get in version 17 onwards this PLC security settings tab. If you want to create a password, if you want to change the mode from legacy or to legacy for communication, that's all done here. And you can get back to this later or through the configuration. If you don't set anything up right now, you can do it later, but it's a good idea to do it now. So in this particular case, we don't want to set a password. I'm not interested in setting a password. I'm not interested in having secure PGPC and HMI communication, so that enables the legacy, which is we're not using the secure password and certificated approach. And here, access level without password, well, we want full access because right now we're not interested in having user assignments, we're not interested in having passwords, we just want to develop. So otherwise this stuff becomes a hindrance. Then you just get a little overview, click finish, and your CPU will be added. And now you can see that this has changed to PLC1, which is the name of the CPU. And in here, we now have all of the familiar things like program blocks, PLC tags, and all that sort of stuff. So one of the other things that you will also need to add is a power supply. Now, depending on your requirements, you'll have different requirements for the amount of power that your system will need. For now, we're just going to go ahead and add this one. It always goes in slot 0. I do believe it does let you put it in other places. You could add more than one power supply if you need to. I'm not quite sure why you would, but some applications I'm sure would call for it, otherwise they wouldn't let you do it. And then you will also need your inputs, outputs, and things like that. So you have your DI for digital input, DQ for digital output. Siemens uses Qs for outputs. DI/DQ, which is digital inputs and digital outputs. AI for analog inputs, AQ for analog outputs, and AI AQ for a mixture of analog in and out. And then you have a few special ones, communication modules, technology modules, VSD controllers, and things like that. But typically you'll be going for DI down to this one here, the AI AQ, and in between. So if I was to go ahead and add a 16-channel, 24-volt digital input card, you simply drop it in, and then I might say I need some digital outputs as well, and again you can drop it on here. Whoops, I dropped that into the wrong place. and then I might need a mixture of analog in and analog out, of which there is only this one. And then what you can do is, if you double click these, you get the property window pop up at the bottom, and it's in here that you can do any specific assignments for that type of card that you've added to your system. So that's things like, module failure. What do we want to do if the module fails? Do we want to keep the last known value, or do we want to set everything to 0? You can have a look at your start addresses and things like that, and we'll see a bit more of this when we come to actually go through mapping physical signals to our asset stuff or asset data. We'll see what this start address and stuff means then. But essentially, it's where are you storing the representation of the input signal in the PLC. We have the same for digital outputs as well. Output addresses, configuration overviews. Some of them have these things called templates, where you would set a template. So if I look at the output 0 to 7, whoops. Sometimes it's easier to right click and go to properties. Sorry, that does the same thing. There's a way of popping this up. I can never remember how you actually pop it up, but there's a way of getting it to open as a floating window rather than on this this tab at the bottom. If you fix this though, then it won't disappear if I click off of it. But you have this from template, and you can say I either want it to be from the template or I want it to be manual, so you can change each channel. So each output signal can have its own parameter settings, or it can be from the template, which the template is down here, I believe. Or it might be in the module parameters. Yeah, so apply to all channels that use the template, and then you can set them all to do the same. But if you have one individual signal that you say you don't want to shut down on reaction to CPU stop, you want it to stay at the last known value, you can set that one individual signal to do that in the other area. And that's pretty much it for adding hardware into the system. When it comes to actually networking that hardware and getting it to talk to other areas and things like that, we will come on to that as we go through lessons that require things like that. But for now, if you're new to TIA Portal, getting started with adding hardware in is as simple as dragging and dropping from the catalog.